The January 6th Select Committee closed out its final public hearing before the midterm elections with a big surprise: the vote to subpoena Donald J. Trump.
This is a question about accountability to the American people. He must be accountable.
The committee directs the chairman to issue a subpoena for relevant documents and testimony under oath from Donald John Trump. Aye.
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 That vote came after the committee laid out a mountain of evidence that lawmakers say shows he had no plans to leave office, even if he lost.
A few days before the election, Mr. Trump also consulted with one of his outside advisors, inside activist Tom Fitton, about the strategy for election night. The Select Committee got this pre-prepared statement from the National Archives. As you can see, the draft statement, which was sent on October 31st, declares, "We had an election today, and I won." And the Fitton memo specifically indicates a plan that only the votes counted by the Election Day deadline, and there is no Election Day deadline, would matter. Everyone knew that ballot counting would lawfully continue past Election Day. On Election Day, just after 5 p.m., Mr. Fitton indicated he'd spoken with the president about the statement. Sending along again, just talked to him about the draft below. Again, this plan to declare victory was in place before any of the results had been determined.
The panel said some of Trump's 2020 campaign staff and his closest allies were well aware of his plans for months before the election even took place.
We also interviewed Brad Parscale, President Trump's former campaign manager. He told us he understood that President Trump planned as early as July that he would say he won the election even if he lost. And just a few days before the election, Steve Bannon, a former Trump chief White House strategist and outside advisor to President Trump, spoke to a group of his associates from China and said this.
And what Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner. When you wake up Wednesday morning, it's going to be a firestorm. Also, if Trump is losing by 10 or 11 o'clock at night, it's going to be even crazier. No, because he's going to sit right there and say they stole it.
Agreed.
I'm directing the Attorney General to shut down all ballot places in all 50 states. It's going to be no. He's not going out easy. If Biden's winning, Trump is going to do some crazy.
Crazy S blank, blank, blank. The committee revealed longtime Trump ally Roger Stone not only knew about Trump's intentions, but he was actively giving him his advice on how to stay in the White House.
In this post, you can see how Roger Stone talked about his conversations with President Trump. He wrote, "I also told the president exactly how he can appoint a special counsel with full subpoena power to ensure those who are attempting to steal the 2020 election through voter fraud are charged and convicted, and to ensure Donald Trump continues as our president." In addition to his connection to President Trump, Roger Stone maintained extensive direct connections to two groups responsible for violently attacking the Capitol, the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys.
Members of the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys have been charged with seditious conspiracy related to the riot. When questioned by the committee, Stone, what did he do? He took the fifth, over and over. Today's hearing also included new details about warnings the Secret Service received days, weeks before the attack.
This email, for example, was an alert that the Secret Service received on December 24th with the heading, "Armed and Ready, Mr. President." According to the intelligence, multiple users online were targeting members of Congress, instructing others to march into the chambers on January 6th and make sure they know who to fear. The Secret Service was rating its security precautions for the president's speech at the Ellipse, a Secret Service deputy chief instructed agents to add certain objects to the list of items that would be prohibited at the rally site, including ballistic vests, tactical vests, armored or not, and ballistic helmets. By the morning of January 6th, it was clear that the Secret Service anticipated violence.
And maybe the scariest part of the day, the hearing also revealed what took place after the House Speaker was rushed from the House floor to a secure location as Trump supporters stormed the Capitol. The committee presented never-before-seen documentary video showing Nancy Pelosi and other leaders pleading for help from the military and law enforcement.
I'm going to call up the effing Secretary of DOD. We have some senators who are still in their hideaways. They need massive personnel now. Can you get the Maryland National Guard to come too?
I have something to say, Mr. Secretary. I'm going to call the mayor of Washington, D.C. right now and see what other outreach she has. Oh, my gosh. They're just breaking windows. They're doing all kinds of... It's really that they said somebody was shot. It's just horrendous, and all at the instigation of the President of the United States. Okay, thank you, Governor. I appreciate what you're doing, and if you don't mind, I'd like to stay in touch. Thank you.
And we should remember, for months, Republicans have been criticizing Pelosi's actions on that day.
Was Speaker Pelosi involved in the decision to delay National Guard assistance on January 6th? Those are serious and real questions that this committee refuses to even ask.
Jim Banks just raised some very serious questions that should be answered by the January 6th Commission, but they're not.
But those implications are absolutely false. And Steve Scalise, of all people, should have known better. Because look on your screen right there. That is him on the left, right next to Nancy Pelosi, as she was desperately calling for help on January 6th.